And then we're going to start. So we've got a full conference here, 60 people signed on. Excited to hear from you, and we're so grateful for you to have the time to chat with us because you really come at it from both worlds as an artist with a lot of success and from a licensing agent with a lot of success as well. And we would just love to hear about your world. So maybe let's just start with you just talking a little bit, telling us a little bit about who you are, both as an artist and as a licensing agent, and how you kind of found your way to both of these worlds.
So I started playing music when I was very little. I was 5 years old when I started playing piano. And when I was about 8 years old, I started writing music. And I kind of realized around that age that most artists didn't write their own songs, but they were performers, and there was a songwriter behind the songs. And I found that very interesting. And I had this first thought in my mind of like, oh, wouldn't that be awesome to write songs for someone else, or write songs in general. When I was 13, I started participating in like different festivals, music festivals, and performing my own songs in different competitions and things like that.
Wow, 13.
Yeah, and by the time I was like 17, I had been doing that for a few years, and it was sort of like how I saw myself. You know, I saw myself as a musician, as an artist, and as a writer. And I decided coming out of high school that I wanted to be a musician. So I applied for a scholarship, and I went to Berklee College of Music. And then after Berklee, I released my first album, and then I moved back to Chile for a year. Released that record here. That record did really well. It came out as one of the best 50 records of the year by Rolling Stone Chile.
Wow.
And then I decided I wanted to go back to the States, so I did. And I spent the next about 5 years sort of learning about the music industry, because I felt that my education at Berklee taught me a lot about how to be a better musician, but not necessarily how to be a good business person. So I decided I wanted to spend some time really understanding the industry. And around that time, I started also looking for a producer to work with on my next record, the first one I had produced myself.
Wow.
And then, but I didn't want to do that again. So I started looking for someone to collaborate with. And I also started sort of in my research following other artists that were independent and how they were making money, and realized that licensing was one of the things that was happening at the time that was important and was big. And so I sort of put all this together and decided that, you know, I wanted to write a record that was, you know, meaningful to me, but that at the same time it could be very licensable. So I did that, and I wrote this record, and that was my second LP. And I first released an EP and then an LP after that. And out of that record, I licensed every single song on the album to something.
Wow.
Whether it was an ad or a TV show or a movie or something like that. And with time, I sort of kept going and, you know, realized there were a lot of opportunities that were not for my music. If somebody wanted to use a punk song in their you know, film, I do not make punk music, so it was a missed opportunity for me. So I decided, well, we were already you know, creating all these opportunities and this relationships with music supervisors, and it made sense to open up this this avenue for other artists as a business venture, that we could incorporate other songs into our catalog, that we could present to these opportunities, and as well bring the licensing opportunities to musicians that otherwise wouldn't have access to those opportunities, and to make money making music. And that grew into a record label and a publishing company and a licensing company that I now manage, and that's it. That's pretty much in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's so smart. I mean, you really were like staying true to yourself every step of the way and really paying attention to what was working, and being so smart about it. And it's interesting. I mean, I know you've been friends with Kathy for a long time, so you guys have kind of like shared parallel worlds in some of these ways. And you've written songs together, and I just think that it's so smart. And we talk about being resourceful in this class all the time, and taking action and showing up, and you just kind of, you know, laid it all out for us, how it's done.
Well, you know, I think that I think sometimes being true to yourself doesn't exactly feel that way. It feels like a lot of patience, and it feels like a lot of grit, and a lot of pursuing many things that are not going to come to anything. It feels like a lot of disappointment and a lot of frustration and a lot of doors that close when you want them to open. I don't think that being true to yourself is this incredibly exhilarating and rewarding experience. You know, I
Every
think
day.
that
Yeah,
I think that it's actually a very confusing experience. You know, I think that you don't always know whether you are or not being true to yourself. Sometimes you question that, you know. Sometimes you pass certain opportunities that may have been good because you thought, you know, you were being true to yourself, or you don't pursue certain opportunities that maybe would have been good. So I think it's a hit and miss. I don't think that it's so clear cut. I think that the road gets paved as you walk it, you know?
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I think everybody can really relate to that as they're walking down this road and kind of questioning and trying to figure out the right decisions. There's not just one black and white decision. You're constantly navigating. And I know that you're familiar with Zoom, but there's a chat where people are commenting and, you know, giving you some feedback. And I thought it was also interesting how you said, I wanted to write an EP or LP that felt true to, you know, you were excited to write as an artist, but also really worked for licensing. And what are some of the things that you feel work for licensing? And I know that kind of is a very broad question. But if you know, how did you kind of make those decisions for yourself?
I think that it depends on a lot of things. I think first of all, it depends on what you're good at, you know, because maybe, I don't know, I think it depends on what you're good at. It also depends on what the current sound is, because, you know, what's current also matters, but that changes. Like what's being licensed today, it's not the same sound that was being licensed 7 years ago.
Yeah.
In terms of like adverts, for example. I think adverts, but at the same time, I feel like there's room for so many different things. Like in the film world, it's very different than the advert world, because in the advert world, usually what people want for the most part is feel-good music, because they want people to associate the product with feeling good so that they can go buy the product and feel as good as the commercial sounds like. But in film or in TV, music serves a completely different purpose. Sometimes it's an additional character, and sometimes and all the time it has to suit the emotion that the plot is wanting to evoke at that particular moment. So the characters are going through something, or something is happening in the story, and the music is there merely to support what has already been written out. So if they want to make you feel sad, the music is going to have to enhance that emotion. If they want to make you feel thoughtful, the music is, or scared, or whatever the emotion is, the music is going to have to take you there emotionally with the music.
Yeah.
So the plot and the script is going to set the tone, and the direction of the film or of the show is going to set the tone for what the music needs to say. And in that case, it doesn't matter so much the style. It could be happening in a club, and they're going to want party music. It could be a show set in like a very urban shows, and I don't know, in that, like a major city like Chicago, maybe they're going to want more urban music. Maybe it's a more dramatic show, they're going to want some singer-songwriter stuff. So I don't feel like there's one style, you know. I think that there's an array of styles. I think that the thing that connects all the dots is that the music has to sound very, very well done, of course. Has to be absolutely be able to compete with everything else that is in that style, and also be very unique, you know, because when you're competing, when you sound like anyone else, but if you sound like yourself, then there's no one to compete with.
That's a beautiful comment. That's such a good thing to bring to light. That makes so much sense, and you know, it breaks through the noise. It's so important.
That's what it is. I mean, you wanna call attention to yourself, and sometimes I think a lot of people make the mistake of trying to sound like someone else that's already doing it.
Yeah.
I think that's a common thing to do, and that's an easy thing to do. The hard thing to do is to create something new, you know,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and unique. And as long as you're trying to sound like someone else, it's going to be very hard to cut through the noise, because there's going to be another 10, 15, 20, 50 people who sound just like what you're doing. But if you're doing something that sounds unique, then there's going to be no one else.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. That's such a great delineation. You have a question that came up here. I noticed that you are writing, producing music in Spanish in addition to English, of course. Are there opportunities in other languages other than English, say Spanish or French?
Well, I recently wrote a song actually that got recorded by an artist in China. So that song got translated to Mandarin. So, you know, I think that music, I think that's what's beautiful about music, is that it crosses borders and boundaries. And I'm always open to writing with whomever. I mean, if it's an artist from Sweden, they want to, you know, write, I don't care. Like, it's, I'm open to writing in different languages. I don't particularly speak any other languages besides English, Spanish. I know very little bit of French, a little bit of Italian, I know a little bit of a lot of languages, but I don't speak them fluently. So writing in English and Spanish is easy for me, because I have a good handle of both of those languages. Hi, Sweden.
That's cool. And for licensing, do you feel like, you know, most opportunities are asking for English lyrics, or do you see?
No, I think that the market for music for licensing is definitely much bigger in Spanish. I mean, sorry, in English. Though I just got a Spanish song license to a show in Europe, which is weird to me. But
Cool.
I don't know why. I have no idea.
But
I think Spanish and English are very universal languages. Of course, more people speak Chinese than anything else, but that's its own unique market.
Right. Isn't that interesting? Can you speak a little bit about the licensing world and what kind of searches you see come up, and most recently what you're looking for, what what kind of things are coming up in your search box right now?
The truth is that I get searches for everything, like, so eclectic. I get hip hop requests, I get EDM, I get like something that sounds like classic rock from the 70s, or something that sounds like it's from the 80s. Sometimes I get requests for things that are, you know, period stuff, like the 20s, 30s, 40s, or jazz, stuff like that. For ads, in Chile particularly, people usually want to license very well-known songs from the past. So it's not a lot of independent music licensing. It's more like well-known songs that they want to re-record or do covers of. When it's independent music for licenses, I usually get requests for happy, feel-good music. And for film, it's all over the place. It's what I was saying before. It really just depends on what the scene is calling for. It's going to be very different than if it's a love scene, or if it's a scene where two characters are fighting, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's something that is such a good thing to spotlight, is that there's so much opportunity for artists who have different sounds, who have different genres, because I think what comes up a lot in the class is, I don't sound like this, so do I have a chance? And it's like, we'll be really good at what it is that you do. And there's so much opportunity, and you've really distilled it down to why, because all these different platforms that they need music for require a different type of music. And I think that's a great thing to highlight. Do you sign per song, or the entire catalog of the artists that you sign?
I've done both things, actually. If there's a song I really like and I really believe in, I'll sign the song. But I usually license whole catalogs. I'd rather just have a bunch of stuff on my than just one song, unless it's a one song that I really, really love and believe in, and I think it's a hit, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's like this terrible beeping noise outside. Sorry, I keep muting myself. Can you guys hear that? Is it terribly annoying. Okay, Frederick says, what about pitching music for the Korean Olympics? Too late for that? And when would it be too late? Got a new request for a collab today.
What is the actual question there? I don't understand.
I think he's wondering when to pitch music for the Korean Olympics.
Got a new request for a collab today. I just don't understand. Is he wanting to pitch? Or is he...
I'm not sure.
If he can clarify, Frederick,
yeah.
If you can clarify your question.
We'll let you clarify, Frederick. Let me move on to Joseph here. Do you think it's better to spend time and money making a couple of good-sounding songs that are unique in your own style, or having a bunch of songs that are well-written?
I think both are just as important. I think that, you know, when I write a song, I first make sure it's the best song I could possibly write. And I don't mean that on an intellectual level. I mean that on an emotional level. So like when I play the song, I play it over and over and over and over and over and over again until I feel it's right, you know? Sometimes I'll write something and there will be a lot of holes in the song, like melodies I'm not so sure that's how they should be, words that I'm not so sure that's where they should go, places where there's words missing that there should be words. And I try not to force things, so I just try to let the song and the music come out and not judge it. And then as I play it more and more things will come out, and eventually the song will find its place, and I trust that process. And it's something that it's taken me 20 years of writing to get to that place, but that's truly how I write now. I really try to remove the editor from the room and just happen and be present and give it time. So the first time I play a song will sound very, very finished, and it's not because I purposely tweaked things. It's because as I sang it more, and I started feeling what felt natural to sing and what words rolled better off my tongue and what made more sense and stuff like that. And eventually the song finds its place. And once I can play the song and not feel like anything has to be changed anymore, like the song is born, then I make sure that it's produced in the best possible way to enhance all the potential that the song actually has. So I can't answer, Joseph, your question of what is better, if one or the other, because I feel you need to treat each song that you write as if it was just as important. And I'd rather have 3 amazing songs that sound incredible and that are very well crafted and very well produced, that 15 songs, out of which maybe 10, I really don't think they're that great. I make that decision before I go into the studio. I write a lot of songs that are very horrible, and they just never see the light of day. Nobody's ever going to hear them, you know? I make the decision before I get to the studio. I only go to the studio with the songs that I know have something special, you know?
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's great point. And a great process. And I think so many people can relate to that. So it's just kind of speaking to what you might already kind of feel or know, and it really confirms that feeling as an artist. So thank you.
I mean, like,
so maybe you could also...
Yeah, I just want to say, I'm writing all the time. Like, all the time I'm like writing and recording like different snippets and ideas in my phone. I'd say out of 15 things that I do, maybe 1 will turn into a song. So like, don't overthink it. Just get it all out, get it all out. I always say, if you have to it's like being a plumber. You just have to, like, you know, clean the, I don't know how to say it. But yeah, the more that you get stuff out, the stuff is the better stuff is gonna come out. You have to get all the bad stuff out first so that the good stuff can come out after.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly right. And I think that it's really reassuring to hear that from somebody who's had so much success and still has success as an artist and is licensing and has such a, you know, great ear to it, that you're just like any other artist. You know, you write good stuff and you just keep writing and you keep, you know, but you have really honed in on, is it good enough, and keep refining it until it is. And so maybe you can talk about some of the licenses, the big licenses that you've had. You've had some amazing, beautiful licenses, kind of the process to how you got them, or speak a little bit about them so we can hear the story.
Of the licenses, the
Yeah,
most important ones
some
that
of
I
your
got.
bigger favorite licenses.
I have a lot of stories. I think two of my favorites were Parenthood and Private Practice, just because the song that got licensed is one of my favorite songs that I've ever written,
Yeah, I love
and
that song.
because the license itself was so amazing. It was the 4 or 5 last minutes of the show, and it for both shows, for Private Practice and for Parenthood, it was a pivotal moment in the storyline, so it changed everything. And it was a montage, so there was absolutely no dialogue, and it was just the image and the music telling the story. So that gave the music a lot of room to shine and to exist. And that was huge for me. It was what some of the first Private Practice was one of the first licenses I got. It was also a lot of money. It was something that I got directly with my manager together, and that paid for my entire next record. And it was and it was that was from the EP. I made the EP, I got the license, and then I had money to finish the album. And it was very emotional for me. I mean, I'm an artist from South America. I was born in a tiny little country that nobody even knows about, in the bottom of the world. Being a musician is something you only dream of here. Like, people don't do that because the industry is so small. And to be in LA at 10 in the evening watching national television and just hear my song on television, it was a big moment for me. So I think that's one of the most important ones.
Yeah, that's amazing and inspiring. Thank you. It's beautiful. I love that song too for Parenthood. It's gorgeous music that you have.
Thank you.
I'm just going through these comments. Yeah, I love the process and how you let the emotional level of the song guide you and help determine if the song is ready, and investing in only the amazing songs. Totally agree. What was the name of the song?
Shed Their Fear. Shed Their Fear. You can go on Spotify and check it out.
Any advice for standing out in a pitch email? So I'm sure, like we do at Catch the Moon, you get tons of emails from artists. And what are some of the things that go into a good email that make you want to actually press play?
Make sure you're writing in proper English. Some people don't know how to put two sentences together.
Yes.
True. Like, it's ridiculous, but it's true. Don't be too formal, and be funny. Nobody's funny. If you're funny, you're going to stand out.
I like that. That's great. We say be friendly, but actually funny is a really good way of doing it. If you can come up with something that really
it's funny,
stands out.
and everyone likes to laugh. So if you get a laugh out of someone, they're going to remember you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let me see what other, I missed a couple of questions back here. How many songs or catalogs do you typically sign in a year?
I don't have a number. The thing is, we've signed large catalogs. We represent Rough Trade, the entire Rough Trade catalog for all of South America. We represent the entire Native Tongue, which is an Australian catalog for all of South America. So we represent like really large catalogs that have over 10,000 songs in them.
Wow.
Yeah. It's we also self-publish those catalogs, so it's not just sync. But I prefer a boutique sort of approach to things. My business partner, who I don't work with him anymore, but when he was working in the company with me, he signed all those large catalogs. I prefer to sign individual records and individual artists because I prefer to know my catalog very, very well. With large catalogs like the ones I was speaking about before, I usually have to reach out to the rep directly and be like, hey, I have this pitch. What in the catalog can you suggest for this particular pitch? Because there's no way I'm going to know 10,000 songs in the catalog. And so I still work both ways. You know, I will reach out to some of our partners and offer stuff, but I also like to know top of mind what would work for a certain situation and not necessarily depend on waiting for someone else to send me their suggestions to be able to pitch something.
Yeah, absolutely. Because things are like, need it yesterday.
very fast. And yeah, sometimes the deadline is today at 3 p.m. and I got the email 2 hours ago. So um, I prefer to know the catalog very well, but I think that's just personal preference of how people like to work. You know, I like to have a personal relationship with the artist. I like to know that the artist is going to get back to me fast. I like to know there's going to be no issue licensing the song. I like to know that when the agency requests the lyrics or the agency requests, be able to reach the artist or the management fast. So for me, it's not just the catalog that matters. It's also the communication and the relationship with the artist or their representatives or representation. Because it can have a great song, but if the artist is unresponsive or difficult to work with, I'd rather not pitch the song, even if it's a great song.
Yeah. I mean, and that is such a good lesson for everybody, you know, being easy to work with, being communicative, having your ducks in a row, knowing your, you know, is your song clearable, just having that information as an independent artist so that you're just one of those easy to work with people that communicates right away. Sam says, would that be an exclusive? Would that then be exclusive if you sign a song or catalog to your licensing company, or can they go out and pitch their music, the artist?
Everyone works differently. I've seen licensing deals that are 50-50. I've seen licensing deals that are 70-30. I've seen licenses that are not exclusive. Every company has their own way of doing business. There's not one way. I particularly don't like to do exclusive deals because I don't like signing exclusive deals myself. So I don't like asking that of the artists that I work with. But the large catalogs that we sign are exclusive deals because that would be impossible to manage. In order to be able to sub-publish a catalog, I have to represent them exclusively. There cannot be two companies that goes through. So the international catalogs are all exclusive for all of South America. And the licensing deals that I do independently with the artists are non-exclusive. Unless we reach a certain tier of steps of licenses and income, and if we've proven ourselves or we're having a certain amount of success and we've helped the artists build their brand and their presence, then we feel like we should take part of the reward of that effort. So we ask for exclusivity, but after we've reached certain steps.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Of course, that's great. What's some advice that you might have for independent artists? I mean, the artists that we have here, songwriters, producers, lyricists, we have all sorts of different people in the world wanting to create music that will have success in licensing. What are some of the steps in which they can figure out how to get a licensing deal or have somebody, a pitching agent behind their music once they kind of have those songs that are ready to go?
Well, I don't think that there's one answer to this question. I think everybody gets to where they get in their own unique way. But there's a lot of music conferences that happen all over the world, all throughout the year, all over the world. There's one in Sweden called Live at Heart. There's one in Barcelona called London Sing Sessions. There's one in England called The Great Escapes. There's several in the United States. There's Indie Week in New York. There's Music Expo in LA. There's ASCAP Expo. There's tons all over South America, in Colombia, Chile, Argentina, Brazil. So I think that, those are good places to meet people who are in the industry and who are licensing and who have licensing companies or publishing companies. And the important thing is to establish a personal relationship with someone and take it from there. I think London Sync Sessions is a very, very good place because all the sync industry goes there. So every single person there is a sync agent from somewhere in the world. So I think that's a good place to meet people, particularly for sync. But in the end, it's going to come down to two things: your personality and your music. If they like you as a person, they're going to want to work with you. If your music is good, they're going to want to represent it. If you have one without the other, it's not going to happen.
Okay, so good. Comes down to two things. That's great. And are there any trends that you see? I mean, you kind of talked to this, but are there, music is always changing and what's being licensed is always changing. And are there specific trends that you're kind of seeing right now that are coming up that you feel are relevant to talk about?
Oh, I don't know. It's a good question. I think that there's a lot of things that have remained constant, like the claps, and particularly in the ad world, like the claps, the big choruses, the lots of reverb on vocals, lots of yelling, sort of like, Imagine Dragons meets Icona Pop or something like that. But I also feel like a lot of the times agencies tend to gravitate to things that are not the trendy thing. Like they want an Arcade Fire song that they're never gonna get, you know? It's true. So,
Oh, I agree.
and the reason why they're never gonna get Arcade Fire is because it's freaking Arcade Fire. So, I feel like that should be your goal, is to create something so iconic that no one can replace it. No one can replace Arcade Fire.
I love that. Yeah, because if we got emails with those kind of songs all the time, we'd be so excited to get those.
Right?
That is really the key. That's really exciting, and I think that's a beautiful way of putting it.
I think it's important to listen to these things. Like listen to Icona Pop, listen to Arcade Fire, listen to all the bands that are either being licensed or people want to license a lot, and get inspiration from there and see what is it about that music that makes it so exciting, so epic, so listenable, so driving, so and take inspiration from there to create your own thing for sure. It's okay to borrow, as long as you also put in stuff that is uniquely yours. It's going to sound different than anything else.
Yeah. I want to, we have a couple of people that have signed up to share their songs with you, to get your feedback on, how they work for licensing in any platform of the licensing world. And so I'd love to, I'm just going to put their link, like a link, and then you can listen on your end and listen for as long as you want to give some feedback. And if there are some other questions that come up, I'll keep an eye on the chat here.
For sure.
So the first one here is from Jason, and it's called Swing Away.
I can't hear anything.
Oh, no, the link is there so you can click it on your end.
Oh, okay. So should I mute my screen so not everyone has to hear it?
No, we can hear it. That's fine.
Okay.
It will be kind of muffled on our end, but at least we can kind of hear it.
After all this time, you should have known better. Underestimate your foes. After all those lines, you thought you were so clever, making all the rules the best you go. Now what's it gonna take for someone to set you straight? When you don't learn, you're gonna lose. Come on, swing away. This might be your last shot. Come on.
You know what? Let me go get some earplugs. I feel like I'm doing a disservice to the music by listening to my Mac computer headphones. So, speakers. Give me 1 second. Particularly in this song, because my first comment was going to be about the mix, and then I felt like maybe I can't read about the mix. It's like this. So I won't listen to this whole song because I know it's going to take too long, but let me just listen to 30 seconds and tell you what I think. So my question to this person, Jason, right? Is Jason on the chat? Yes. Like, Jason, don't poop your pants. It's okay. So my first question to you is, what is your goal with the song? Like, what is it that you are looking to do as an artist, and with this particular song? Like, why are you sharing this with us?
That was I put that on I had an independent release
sorry.
in 20. Can you hear me?
Repeat that.
I released it independently on a full record in 2016. Okay. I am an independent artist out of Los Angeles.
Okay.
By way of Houston, so I have a little bit of a country Americana flair to a lot of my stuff. Yeah, and but I felt like that had a bit of universal appeal, at least with the swing away subject matter of, you know, the whole swinging for the fences, going for it kind of thing. I thought it might be a cool thing to have maybe on some sport spots, maybe softball, baseball, tennis, maybe, if that were placeable at all.
I personally haven't seen a lot of country music requests for ads or for TV shows or for film, unless it's a film set in the countryside. But Sonnet, what's your experience with that?
Yes, I would agree with you. That's something that we talk about. Country is really specific to, like, maybe a television show that is like a country television show, but it really doesn't come up very often, and most music supervisors aren't looking for that in general.
So I agree. So that's my first thought. If this is something you want to do as an artist, by all means, go ahead. If what you want to do is maybe write songs for larger country artists and have them maybe cut those songs on their record, I think great. You should follow that strategy. For licensing, I don't think this is your best bet. Like, if you're looking to license music, unless you are living in Nashville or anywhere where country music is played and heard, and pitching directly to local adverts, not national adverts, I think you're going to be narrowing down your possibilities a lot, because this is so specific. As a suggestion, since this is in your roots, I know that country and bluegrass are not the same thing, but I think they all fall into the Americana sort of genre. Maybe not, but that's what I would think. You know, there's a band of some friends of mine. Sonnet probably knows them too. They license a lot of stuff. They've had stuff on ads. They've had stuff on, like, big films.
Sorry, the next song started playing.
They've had stuff on big films, and there's an element of country there, but there's an element of bluegrass in there, and then there's an element of pop in there. So if you want to bring the country element into the music, but make it more licensable, I would suggest that you listen to this band and other bands similar in that sound, because I think that's a sound that, well, maybe, and I hope I'm not trespassing boundary, but staying true to who you are and to the music you want to make and to your roots, it's also at the same time more licensable. So I'm going to write it in the chat here. The band is called Distant Cousins. And you can check them out. And, you know, they take a lot from Mumford and Sons, and it's sort of a sound that is, it's a few years past already, the Mumford and Sons sound, but they make it very relatable and very licensable. So I think listening to your music, that's the first idea that I get in terms of advice that might help you in any way to be licensed, if that's what you're looking to do.
Yeah.
My question is, did it sound insanely country to you off the bat, or did you think of that because it has violin and I mentioned that I had country flavor in my songs in general?
To me, it's country off the bat. Like, there's absolutely nothing else I could think of. I mean, if I hear it, that's it. It's country.
I agree.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, and I think that's such a good delineation of figuring out, you know, how can you develop that into something that is more licensable, and, you know, because you really limit your opportunities. So I think that was such spot on advice and insight. So thank you, Yael.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay, next person. We have Cheryl. I think, let me just make sure this is, yeah, Cheryl's song called Hourglass Dance.
Let's shake the rafters tonight. Tear off the roof, take a piece of the sky. Time is escaping like the cat through the back door. Life organized on a list. Schedules rule with a cold steel fist. Open my eyes, realize what I was wasting. If you blink, you're gonna miss it. There it goes, there it goes. It's a gift, pay attention. There it goes, there it goes.
I feel bad listening to only 1 minute of the song and commenting on it. I feel like it's not the way one should listen to music.
But that is how we
country
do
flavor
it.
too.
So don't feel bad.
Sorry,
Don't feel bad. That's how we do it when we give feedback.
I feel like in this song, there's also a little bit of that country flavor we were discussing before, which makes it, again, very niche. You know, there's only a few places that this is going to be good for. It's not a bad thing. This is the thing about licensing, is that licensing is a very particular part of the music industry. And I don't necessarily agree that an artist should write for licensing. I think an artist should write for themselves and for what makes sense to them. If you want to have licensing as an option in your catalog, then there are some consider. But I don't feel that you could do that and still not get licensed. So you need to make sure that you're not compromising the artistic integrity of your music in order to get licensed.
Yeah.
I have incorporated things that I know work for licensing in my music, but I still write the music I want to write, and I make the music I want to make. It's not music that I write for licensing. It's music that I write because I'm a musician and I write music. So in this particular case, I'm only going to go into the songwriting and the production in terms of licensing. So it has nothing to do with how good or bad the song is, or the quality of the project, because I think that it's outside of the scope of this particular subject. Okay?
Perfect. Yes.
So in terms of licensing for this song, it's what I said before. Again, I feel like it's very niche. It's not a bad thing, but what I heard a minute of the song, and in that minute, a lot of different things happened. The song went many different places. The instrumentation changed a lot. The melody changed a lot. I felt like there were 3 different distinct parts in 1 minute of the song. I don't know what happens next, but I can only imagine that it goes back and forth to all these different parts. And I feel that for licensing, less is more. Simple is better. So people who listen to music, it has to be music that can reach a large amount of people. Niche music reaches a group of people who love that particular genre. But advertising, TV, film are mass media. So it has to reach a large amount of people. And I feel that most people don't have the palate to be able to digest music that is complex. Mm-hmm. So the more simple you make something, the easier it will be for people to take it in. Mm-hmm. And that means less parts, less chords, simpler melodies, easier words. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So try to say less stuff, more stuff with less stuff. And that's a very difficult thing to do, to say, Sometimes you want to add an extra tension in a chord. You want to, you know, add maybe a chord that comes out of the key for a second and go back in. That's okay. That's okay to do if it's a conscious decision that you're doing. But sometimes musicians, we tend to show off and want to put everything in one song. Maybe that's a cool thing as a musician, but it's not going to work for licensing. For licensing, it's too complex. You have to remember that the important thing is what you're seeing on the screen, and the music is only there to support that. Music is not the main element, and music is not the main character. Music is only there to enhance what the director and what the actors are already doing. So if the music is too complex, it's going to take over, and that's not going to work for the project, because no one wants the music to take over. Everyone wants the music to make people feel something and to move them without taking away the attention from what's happening on the screen. So what happened to me with this particular song is that I felt that there was a lot in terms of songwriting, in terms of production happening in a very short time. And I would believe that that would make it more difficult to license. I don't know if you agree with that or not, Sana.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think sometimes you're trying to tell so much of the story in the lyrics of the chorus or something that you're trying to tell this whole story when really you just need a really great line that you're going to repeat that gets the point across. And it's simple, and it's harder to find that line than to explain the whole story, but that whole story is going to be too much to digest against the picture. So it makes a lot of sense to simplify.
Just to answer a couple of questions that people are asking here, yes, evoking feeling is the most important. If you can make people feel something, you have half of the battle already won. You have to realize music supervisors are going to be looking for something that's going to make people feel what they want people to feel that moment. So if your music can move the music supervisor, you got the battle won.
Yeah.
Simple emotion. Not that emotion. Yeah, you just have to. It's not that this emotion is simple. Emotions are complex, and maybe it's going to make different people feel different things. But you have to be able to move people. And in terms of stripped down piano, I actually get a lot of requests for stripped down piano vocal stuff. I think it is advantageous to write. I think everyone should have something like that in their catalog. Not all your songs should be that way, but you should have a couple, because there's gonna be requests for that. Yeah. And I don't think that the TV and the film and ads are different in terms of simplicity and complexity. I think all of them should be easy and simple and easily to digest.
Yeah, agree. Okay, I'm going to post another one here. This is from Sergey. Does that work?
There's a lot of songs there, so which one?
Oh, are there?
Sorry, Serge here. It's the same song as the first one with words in Spanish, but then
okay.
Yeah, and the rest of it is only songs like yeah.
Got it. Okay.
En mis pensamientos, cada noche, cada día, con sus alas del ensueño pueden desnudar la vida. Son la luz que me encandece desde el fondo de una herida, y la magia de un suspiro, la verdad, la fantasía. Suelen darme por las noches mi caricia, revelarse los secretos que me intrigan, y estrellarse en el silencio, exaltando mi respiro, mi canción. With a soul of nation, it's with a reading nada más, un canto.
Hi there.
Guillermo, is that your name?
No, my name is Serge, but this is a song written a song by Guillermo, and I did work with the music with him, and then he did it in Spanish. Just to say that there's a lot of instrumental versions, because one I've just been recently pitched as an instrumental to a TV show, and now we're gonna pitch it to Sonnet with an English vocals going on. But that's the song basically. I would like to hear about. Yeah, sorry.
So my question to you is like, in what world do you feel like if there was another artist or a couple of other artists, what that you would, that this song could fit with, you know, like if I got a search saying replacing this artist and this is the song that I would pitch, like what would be that artist?
Well,
Does that make sense?
actually, yeah, sure. I don't have anyone in mind, but when I saw the pitch for the TV show, it was light, happy music, guitar acoustic driven, and I had this song. So what I did, I stripped a lot of tracks just to get mostly the guitar. I did put a kick in there, and that's it. And they chosen it. So you know, that was one of my questions. How much can we do with one single song when we have many opportunities to change the mixes and so forth, so it would fix one specific kind of opportunity. So that would happen. So this one is like the big mix, like a song on an album with no real people in mind. But then there's other versions with like more like just singer-songwriter with a guitar and a kick going on, or another one with
I actually think it makes sense that the song got placed as an instrumental version. I don't know how much sense it would make with the vocal for me. The Spanish songs that I see that have music, like I haven't heard anything that sounds particularly like this. That's why I was asking you, like, what artist would you compare it to? Because like specifically if it is in Spanish, like, I don't necessarily think like it quote unquote competes with the other music in the genre, you know. But without the vocal, it makes sense as an instrumental track that it could fit so many different places. It could fit as a promo for something. It could be as an incidental track underneath something that's happening. I could see it on HGTV, like the home repair network where like people build houses, and it's music that could fit there very, very well for their promos or for their programming. Things like this work very well for those kinds of shows because they repeat it over and over again. It has to be something that works with different segues and with different themes without overpowering what's happening in the screen. I feel like that could work so well in so many different places like that. But as a song with a vocal, I don't think you're going to have the same room and success for this particular song that you're showing.
Yeah, thank you. We're going to try with the English vocals, but thanks for that. Very appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, no, and if you're going to try it with the English vocals,
yeah,
I would say really find someone that you want to compare it to and try to make the mix sound like that. Yeah. Try to make vocal sound like that vocal mix of the other artists that you feel it fits with, because mixing vocals, it's very, very difficult to get it right. And if you don't get it right, the whole song suffers because the vocals are what's going to stand out the most. And so if they don't sound super professionally mixed, with a nice compression and nice reverb and sitting well in the mix, front and centered, but very crisp, it's the whole song suffers.
Yeah. A voice like is going to be someone who sings like Timberlake, same kind of voice.
Perfect. But then make sure that not just the singing is like Timberlake, but the mixing is like Timberlake too.
It will be. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So good. I really like the detail of the feedback. Thank you. Really thank you for taking the time to really listen and give such honest, straightforward feedback. It's so incredibly helpful. I just posted another one here. We have a few more. Are you okay on time? Yeah? Yeah?
Yes,
okay, so the last one is by Tune Made, Lisa and Stefan. And it's called Knotted Up Like Stone.
Okay, let me just answer J.J. Robbins' question. So you might be hearing that sound unique stand out, but also hearing lots of poor. Yes, there is a balance. The balance is you want to be able to, like if you were a language, you would want to know what country you belong to, So if you're writing a song, you want to know that that song is going to be able to exist in a realm. That's why asking who are you trying to sound like, because you're inspired by someone. You're already comparing yourself to someone. You were inspired by someone. You're already comparing your music to someone. So your music has to be able to exist alongside other people that are going to be competing for the same pitch than you. So you need to make sure that the song is on the same level of production and the same level of sound quality as the other people that you're inspired by. It doesn't mean it has to sound exactly the same in terms of production and in terms of songwriting, but in terms of sound quality, it has to sound comparable to the other people in the same planet that you're in. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna listen to this one. I'm gonna stop this for a second. Just right off the bat, I've heard 7 seconds and I already know what planet the song belongs to. You see, like music supervisors are not gonna have a lot of time to listen to. So when something is done in a way that has a unique sound and you can already put it in a box, even if in that box it stands out as very unique, it makes it easier for people to understand what they can do with the song. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I really like this song. I think there's a lot of here that's working really nicely. I feel like there's something songwriting wise that I would have liked to dig my fingers into if I had been part of this session. Just to simplify things a little bit. Like I feel like there's so much that is so good, and there's a few things here and there that I feel like are a little bit over the top and take it out of the coolness that the track already has. But I think that there's a lot here that is really good, and I feel like the only thing that I would do with this song is I would get it mixed better. I feel like this song needs a better mix. It just sounds very generic to me as a mix, and I feel like if you can put some money for someone to mix it nicely and have a better overall sound. Like I would put a reverb on the overall mix. Just give it like a very indie, very cool sound, because the songwriting and the instrumentation and the production that you've chosen for this particular song already sounds that way, but the mix is not going along with the choices you've made in production and in songwriting. So I feel like that's where it's getting stuck. But I feel like if you can get this nicely mixed, and get some good references of what you would want to of what you would want this mix to sound like. So other bands that you feel are similar to the music that you're creating and how they sound. But I feel like for me, that's the thing. I'm not happy with the mix, but I feel the song has great potential, and if you can get that worked out, I think you could have something good in your hands.
Beautiful. Okay, we have one more. Here is the last one, and this is from Matt Skinner and Debbie Ward. And I would just, again, have to reiterate how amazing and helpful your feedback is.
Oh, no, my pleasure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So you sent me this another one?
Yeah, this is Matt Skinner and Debbie Ward.
once alive, all fear gone, satisfied. Let it all wash over me. I am your fantasy. Every sign is never cold. But like me, you'll never be told. I won't suffer anyone. Let the day lay beside me. It's a brand new day. It's a brand new day. I will not compromise. A new day is coming to rise. It is.
I have a similar feeling with this song than with the one before. Again, I feel like it's a really good song. I feel the production is really good choices. I feel it's licensable, but the mix to me is a little bit plain. I think that there's more that could be done with it to get it more cool, more crisp, more I feel like the mix can make all the difference between something sounding amateur and something sounding professional. And I feel the elements are there in this song, but I would just find it a better mix. That would be my suggestion.
No, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, I think that that's such an important part, and we talk about it. And it's, you know, if you're a music supervisor and you're listening to a list of songs and you're going through and one isn't mixed well, you're just going to skip right over it, even if it's a great song. So you're not even.
I think this one also could be a good instrumental. Like, I feel like the instrumental could work for a lot of things, but those claps need to be louder. They need to have more reverb on them. You know, the oohs need to be lower. They also need to have more reverb on them. They need to be a little bit more washed out, sound a little bit more gang vocally instead of sound so clear and crisp on the front center. There's just effect stuff and sound stuff and EQ stuff that needs to be worked out to make this mix a little cooler. You know, that's what I would say.
Yeah, agree, and make it pop. Okay, I'm going to let you go. We're at the hour mark, and I'm going to, let's see. Cecilia, you didn't get a chance to go, but I will put you in for the next one, so you're set to go for the next one. And thank you, Yael, for taking the time, for sharing all of your insights.
My pleasure. Let me just answer this question because
you are getting questions.
Everyone just seems to be confused about the unique versus the comparing yourself to someone else. And I can't really answer it in 1 second because this is sort of like an hour class that I give on the subject. But is the mirroring specific to mixes and song structure but not sound, or what you have? How would you explain the dance between the two? Okay, so I would explain the dance between the two as if someone gave you a recipe for salad. And you love their salad, and it has lettuce, and it has tomatoes, and it has avocados, and it has onions. And you love it, and you take it, but you also add some almonds and some spicy vinaigrette to it. It's not the same salad as before. Now you've made it your own. So when you take inspiration from other artists, you don't take everything. You don't take the way they write. You don't take the lyrics. You don't take the melody. You don't take the drum sound and the guitar sound, all of it. If you do that, you're going to sound exactly like the other band. What you take is you take a piece. You take the sound of the guitar. And from another band, you take the sound of the drums. And from another band, you take the way that they structure their songs. And from another band, and you pick and choose your colors that you're going to paint with, and you put them together in a salad. And then, because you made those decisions of what things you chose, and they're different things you choose from different bands, it's going to sound like something unique because nobody else would have made those specific choices from those different things and put them together in one salad. So you are comparing yourself. You are taking inspiration from other people. You are using the to learn and to borrow things that other people are doing that inspire you and that sound great. But you're not taking all from one band. You're taking little pieces from different people and different bands to create something that is uniquely yours. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, that definitely answers. I think it's beautiful, and I think it's it's a play. It's not like you can just get it right in one thing. That's the work to do. So that's beautiful. Okay, so thank you so much, Yael. Really, like, thank you for your wisdom and your true to being an artist and your advice from being a licensing agent and just so much realness. And we really, really appreciate you and your time.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you guys for everything. Yes, you can contact me. I'm going to write my email down here. I wish everybody a lot of success, and I'm glad you're taking this class. It's going to change your life if you take the advice and you fly with it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sonnet, for the invitation. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.